Our reactions are so revealing to that which has been neglected, the fragments of us that have not been welcomed, that have not been healed. Those explosive reactions that end up making us feel very shameful and guilt-ridden and filled with regrets hold the key to our liberation. If we can get over the shame, the initial feeling of the weight of having to realize that we were out of alignment, that reaction was not really about the thing or the words, but it was about something that has been festering within us, something much deeper, that because it has not been examined and processed, now it almost holds us hostage in a way that we can't trust ourselves, because now we are responding or reacting in ways that are not truly authentic. They are not who we are. And so there's deep medicine in observing those reactions, because it points to those places that are so tender, that makes us feel so vulnerable. And it's those places that require nurturing energy. We need to tend to that woman that is in pain, to the angry teenager, to the little girl that is feeling abandoned. And so now all those parts in you are screaming for attention. So it's important to take notice of the things that trigger you to those explosive reactions, because those things can open doors to deeper awareness and to deeper love. Remember that anger is a messenger. It tells you the places that need most love, the places that need you to show up with greater integrity, to have reverence and respect for yourself, and to set appropriate boundaries. And so that may happen a lot. We may react a lot in the beginning when we're starting to see all the ways in which we have bypassed our own sense of self, where we have overridden our needs or values or whatever it may be, in order to keep the peace, or because it's really challenging to say no or to stand up for ourselves. And so there gets to be a point of no return, of enough. We're not doing that anymore. And so at first, the boundaries may be prickly or a bit fiery. And eventually we learn that we can assess, and we can intercede and speak up and show up for ourselves and set a boundary without having to be extra spicy. Let's say we can do it in a very calm and collected way, in a very eloquent way, if we are very clear with exactly what it is that we need to say, and to hold our ground. And so it's a process to do that. But I'd like to read a journal entry by Sylvia Plath. These are her journals, her unabridged journals. And I found something very interesting, because it speaks to what happens when you have spent years without your no, without the ability to say no, and all the grief that we can hold inside. And when grief doesn't have an outlet, it's not processed properly, then it becomes this reactive rage, this disease or depression. And so here she says, there comes a time when all our outlets are blocked, as with wax. You sit in your room feeling the prickling ache in your body, which constricts your throat, tightens dangerously in little tear pockets behind your eyes. One word, one gesture, and all that is pent up in you, festered resentments, gangrenous jealousies, superfluous desires, unfulfilled, all that will burst out of you in angry, impotent tears. In embarrassed sobbing and blubbering to no one in particular. No arms will enfold you, no voice will say, there, there, sleep and forget. No, in your new and horrible independence, you feel the dangerous premonitory ache arising from little sleep and taut-strung nerves, and a feeling that the cards have been stacked high against you this once, and that they are still being heaped up. An outlet you need, and they are sealed. You live night and day in the dark, cramped prison you have made for yourself. And so on this day, you feel you will burst, break if you cannot let the great reservoir seething in you loose, surging through some leak in the dike. So you go downstairs and sit at the piano. All the children are out, the house is quiet, a sounding of sharp chords on the keyboard, and you begin to feel the relief of loosing some of the great weight on your shoulders. I'm so moved with this because I have been a hyper-independent woman. I was a parentified child, a parentified daughter, meaning I had to take on more than is appropriate for a child. A child or a young adolescent should not have to be responsible for the well-being, for the emotions of the adults. They should not have to set the tone in the home or micromanage so that the peace remains. You know, oftentimes we've had to become invisible in order to survive. And so the independence, that horrible independence that she speaks of, is due to this aloneness that we've been carrying with for our entire lives. And now even in the company of others, even intimate relationship, we find ourselves alone, feeling that people cannot meet us where we need. And in fact, that it is really challenging to open up and to let people in or to ask for what we need. In fact, it's really challenging for a parentified child to have needs. So as an adult, you have to discern for yourself what your needs are, and then to have the courage and feel the worth of receiving them. That's the other challenge. And so here, I love that she expresses in such like graphic, eloquent beauty, the grief of containment, of having everything sealed like wax, she says, of having this wellspring of emotion just bottled in with no outlet. It is excruciating. And I'd say that the link with addiction is in that bottling, in that implosion of there's no one to hold me, no one to say, there, sleep and forget, rest, you know, a shoulder to cry on. And so she finds comfort in an outlet in music, which is why the best songs, the most profound pieces of art, the works of art usually have an undercurrent of pain. Some of the greatest artists that have ever walked on earth, the greatest poets, painters, musicians, all have been lonely children, abandoned children, abused children. They have suffering, they have pain, they have deep abandonment wounds. And so they take all of that and they transmute, they alchemize and offer their craft, their painting, their music, their song, their poetry. And in doing so, they help humanity heal. It's a deep offering that is, here's my pain, I've turned it into wisdom, I've turned it into beauty, so that you may see yourself in this mirror and know that it is possible to create amidst feeling so weighed down. And so if you can be creative as an adult, if you can still make music, if you can still paint and write and dance and do your thing, the thing that makes you come alive, then you've survived. And not only have you survived, you may thrive. And that is the beauty of the beauty of the artist. And I believe we're all artists in our own right. I believe that we are all creators. And so while some have perfected their craft, the whole point is to create. Even if you don't monetize your art, the point is that you continue singing, continue dancing, continue writing, continue cooking, continue tending. Perhaps your art and your craft is the way that you show up for your family amidst your heavy heart. Like, that takes tremendous courage. It takes tremendous courage to rise amidst the chaos of the world. It takes a lot of effort to continue trusting and believing in magic and beauty, and to continue to create amidst the noise that we're constantly, being bombarded with, which is why the artist needs solitude. Because in solitude is when you can listen to yourself and you can visualize, and the muse shows up and seduces you into your craft, into your art form. So we need moments of silence, and we need the discipline to create them, because we are at an age where we can be entertained 24/7. And it's easy to do, because if we're feeling, that level of grief, of pain, that we're just going to burst, in these like angry, impotent tears, as she says, but they can't come. We're somehow not able to. That's when people usually disassociate, either through drugs or alcohol or relationships or entertainment or shopping or whatever it is, food, anything that gets you outside of feeling what you're feeling in the moment, that can hijack your process, your creative process. Doom scrolling, that's like the dopamine addiction that we're all exposed to, we're all vulnerable to. And so it's important to track where your energy leaks are, so that you can bring it back to center, ground yourself, go sit with a tree, go hike in silence without your phone, without the music, just be with yourself. It's important to create spaces of silence and solitude, so that then from that emptiness, the creation may come forth, which is an emptiness that is filled with potential, right? With the bird songs, with a colorful landscape. Thank you for listening, and may you hold your grief and all your emotions with tenderness, with compassion, and with gentleness. Take care.